Hello and welcome to the Brand Odyssey podcast. Another week of sharing our make and break for brands. Miranda?
Yes, but first we're going to launch in with our personal make and break. So I have been given the task of sharing the good in my life, something good that's happened, and I've just got a really little one because I'm being a bit mysterious today and I'm going to share my bigger make at the end of the podcast.
Ooh, how off brand for us.
I know.
To mix things up, change things again.
We do like to do that. Just my make would be that we relaunched 2 weeks ago and I just had some really nice feedback from mostly my friends, which is okay. My sister just specifically told me she was laughing at a particular bit that just happened at the end of the podcast, which means she listened the whole way through. So shout out, Sylvie, your first proper mention on the pod. You know, it's nice to hear people are listening and enjoying it and keeps us moving along and creating more of these stories.
Yes, and by all accounts, your sister is not someone, you don't have a relationship with your sister that's like prop each other up, even if you don't mean it.
No, I mean, look, we're very close. She's actually also a designer. We used to work together, share a desk. I used to annoy her by asking her what I had to do on all my tasks. I'm the little sister energy, but, you know, we're just, you know, we're not gushy.
No, not gushy. She means it.
She had a lovely haircut this weekend, and I said, you have a lovely haircut. Is that a good, I think that's a good supportive sister relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you and Beck do?
Oh, we'll sledge each other if we have to.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we, oh, no, we do sledge. Yeah.
My sister has given me some sledging feedback about this podcast.
Really?
In the early days, I told you, it was about our original intro. She was like, you sound like you're about to die. Because we were trying not to be too high energy and we went the other way.
That's right. She said we were a bit robot. Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. She was like,
we're trying not to be giggly gals.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, what are you doing? You sound weird. Re-record it. And we need that kind of feedback in our lives.
Funny. Okay, well, that's my very mini break. And as I said, my big, you got to listen to the end to find out our big news. That's me trying to do a hook.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, what was your break?
My break, another small one, nothing that, you know, crushed my spirit, but I had a garage sale on Saturday and it was so unsuccessful. I did not make a cent.
What, like not actually, no one bought anything?
No one bought anything. I was out there for 5 hours trying to sell my wares and no one wanted, not an inquiry, Miranda.
This is now your secret shame. What did you feel like in the morning that you were like, this is going to go for $10? Surely all the people want. What was that item that you had out there?
That's a good question. I had a light fixture that kind of hangs, like it's like a rope that kind of hangs, like that you can tie up onto, you know, a bookcase or something that I thought was quite cool. And I was a bit sad to let go of, but I was like, I just don't have a good spot for it. I'm going to let it go.
Oh, no, you can keep it.
And now I can keep it. It's back in the second bedroom. Back safe. A lot of the stuff is safely back in the second bedroom.
So you didn't decide just to haul it over to Vinnie's because no one wants to actually pay for it. You're still going to keep it till the next garage sale.
No, I think thus ends my garage sale career. I have had some successful garage sales in the past, but yeah, this really cemented. No one wants your shit, Kylie. I put 2 bags of stuff in the boot of the car immediately. Like it went straight from the lawn to a black bag into Vinnie's. And then there were a couple of things where I was like, oh, maybe I would keep that.
Yeah, and, like if someone had bought it for $3, it would have been great. Yeah. But if no one bought it, you can keep it.
Yeah. But it was fine because I did it with my neighbour and so, you know, it wasn't out there alone. We were having a good old gas bag.
Laughing about your lack of sales, not meeting your KPIs.
She did better than me. She made $55.
So she was making about $10 an hour, aka what I earned in 2001 at McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
If that.
You can't win them all.
You know what you needed to do was performance. That's what I used to do.
Performance art.
I am first up today. I am doing our brand make story this week. And I think it's probably one of the more organic ones I have done next to the Gold Coast sign. It's just sort of me being out in the world, observing, taking it all in, and just like connecting with something, liking something. So, what I observed was one of the best negative space, typographically genius Rooster logos the world has ever seen. So, that's my clue, is it's a brand with a Rooster logo.
Oh, okay. What first comes to mind is like the East Sydney Roosters, but I would bet my life on the fact that you have not profiled a sport team.
It's 100% not that.
So I'm going to say it's like Red Rooster.
It is Red Rooster. Look, there's a few Rooster logos. There's a whole genre. But anyway, have you seen, now that you're thinking of Red Rooster, have you seen their new logo?
I haven't, no.
Well, maybe it's not scattered around the eastern suburbs of Sydney.
I'm going to Google it now.
You probably have.
Is there any Red Roosters around anymore? Oh, okay. Oh, it's so cute. Very cute.
Yeah, it's so cute. There's a meme that went around and it's called the Red Rooster line. Basically, some little genius on the internet plotted the dots of all the red roosters and then drew a line that divides Sydney into east, which is Grill's Charlie's.
Oh my God, that's so accurate.
And then on the other side is Aljana, which is, for people who don't know, is like Aljana is like Lebanese delicious chicken. And then Grilled Charlie's is your very bougie chicken and chips in the east. And then these sort of like red roosters. And then a person did a whole video about this, which is very funny. So if you've got time, Google the Red Rooster line. There's a lot of content on there.
Oh my God, that's so funny because it's so accurate.
Yeah.
There's Grilled Charlie everywhere and it's delicious.
It is also very good.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like your $20 salad plus some roast chicken.
Yeah, she's not cheap.
No. Anyway, so back to the logo. In 2021, they rebranded from the Rooster mascot, sort of a rooster in profile. And what they did is they got two R's, aka the R from red and the R from rooster, and they come together to make a little face and eyes and a beak of a rooster.
Very cute.
Very cute, very clever. They engineered a chicken face into two R letter forms. I think that is a little stroke of genius. And that's the thing that sparked my interest when I would drive past a Red Rooster, because I was like, oh, okay, no, it's a new logo. And I see this cute little face and I think, oh, clever, negative space.
The negative space logo is like the holy grail of the logo family, isn't it? It's just
100%.
Yeah.
I can only think off the top of my head, isn't it FedEx one as well?
The FedEx one is always hailed as like, the best logo in the world.
Well, I do think it's hard to achieve because it definitely sparks joy for designers, I think, because we're like, oh, you know, you did something so clever. But I think even for the public, you're like, oh, two R's. And, you know, it's just that little bit of interaction maybe you can have with a logo, which is generally flat.
I think it also, like, you get the joke. Like, if the person sees the negative space visual, you're kind of like, oh, I'm in on the joke. Like, I get it. Yeah. I'm so clever. It gives the audience that like aha moment. Yeah.
And if it's done well, as this one is, it's very memorable and belongs to that company as well, which is really what you're trying to achieve. So
I see the chicken.
That is how I came to do Red Rooster. I would say I'm not a huge fast food eater. Are you?
No, not really.
Red Rooster, I don't want to sledge them too hard, but I couldn't personally remember a time I'd eaten Red Rooster.
No, I don't know if I ever have.
Never.
I mean, I don't think so. Anyway, maybe I have.
Well, I've crossed over because, you know, I take this very seriously, this podcast. And also, just by coincidence, my new hairdresser happens to be right next to a little Red Rooster franchise. And I went and got my roots done last week, and I was just like, well, this was meant to be. It's right next door. It was in the evening, so
body on the line.
Yeah, you know, I had to test it out to really do this story justice. And so after I had my hair done, I just popped in, and look, I think it's safe to say I was being a bit of a weirdo in the shop because I was also like, oh, I have to take a few selfies. But
oh my God.
but it was just me and the one counter staff
Oh my God,
in a tiny store.
that's awkward at the best of times when where you just kind of loiter to like read the menu and the person's just standing there and you're like, I'm just reading the menu.
Then I went to order, and as I said, I'm not that well versed in ordering from a Red Rooster, so I was very annoying, I'd say, in this moment for this guy, because I was, oh no, I won't have that. No, actually, should I have this? Oh, and just kept changing, multiple changes later.
Yeah.
I landed on 3 buttermilk tenders, a side of chips, and for me, the standout, potato and gravy, which was honestly, I could just drink it through a straw. It was so good.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yep. So there you go. You might have to head across that Red Rooster line in the coming weeks to get that potato and gravy. Anyway, to the story. A quick brand history of Red Rooster. So as you probably know, they are an Australian icon as far as a national homegrown fast food restaurant. Like, I don't think there is anything else that's come out of Australia and got to the size and notoriety.
I don't think I even knew they were Australian. I would have thought they were American.
Oh, they're very Australian. Well, by the end of this, you will definitely know how
I obviously
Australian
have
they are.
not engaged with Red Rooster much in my life. Yeah.
Well, I remember them growing up. Like, I had friends who worked there and stuff, and I would eat it. But I think, when we were coming up as teenagers and the era that they were really going strong, you had Red Rooster, Sizzler, McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, KFC, Pizza Hut. Like, you didn't have, like we said, you didn't have Fishbowl or even a sushi train. So I'm surprised in that era, like, you didn't have that in your mix at all.
Yeah, I am too, actually, now that you're phrasing it like that. Yeah, it just doesn't, I mean, Sizzler, I'm like, oh, good times.
Sizzler was the best.
Sizzler, Pizza Hut, the all-you-can-eat dessert buffet. Oh.
Sizzler was one of the ones where I ate so much that we were like a little barrel. Our stomachs were like little hard barrels as we waddled out.
Pop little bacon bits on top of like literally anything.
Oh, cheesy toast. Anyway, so they were founded in 1972 in Western Australia as a family business. So that's nice, started from small and grew. They had a nice moment for themselves, which was getting bought out by Coles Myer. So that's going to help with that backing. And Coles Myer did a merger with them and a Queensland franchise called Big Rooster and rebranded all the Big Roosters as Red Rooster as well. So that's kind of how they grew across Australia quite quickly. And during all this time in the 80s, they had the original Rooster mascot logo. So do you remember that logo? I feel like you're not great for asking, do you remember anything about Red Rooster? So just Google it.
I'm gonna, yeah. I do now that I see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, it's very iconic. I don't know why I've got such a blind spot on this. Anyway, yes.
Shame on you for not knowing this Aussie icon. This is like me having to talk about sport where I'm like nervously like, yeah, I know. So for people who don't remember, aka Kylie, it was a flat profile of a rooster. So it was the rooster.
No, I do remember now. It's very iconic.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, it was on the side and it had this lovely pluming tail that kind of looked like a rainbow coming out the back in red, of course. And I feel like I really liked this logo for them. It was, the styling in itself was something that was quite ownable. It was memorable. And I feel that now it's even, retro enough it could come back in. It's sort of done a full circle.
It's very 70s, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very 70s.
And I feel like that 70s aesthetic has had a real moment.
Yeah, it's sort of like
resurgence.
Do you remember like around that time, like those enamel badges?
Yes.
Yes, it has that sort of enamel badge feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, me too. I like it. So I would say in this era, it was an iconic time for the company. This was the red 80s, 90s-ish was Red Rooster heyday time. And as I said previously, being Australian homegrown, they really lent into this Australianism. And that, I think in the 80s, was that particularly popular in advertising, like Australiana?
Yes. Well, because as well we were having like that bicentenary, like the 88, all of that, celebrate 88 and all of that, I think of like Kendo and, that Australiana.
And just like life guards and running on a sandy beach, tan
Yep.
skin and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And even like Australian tourist shops, I think, were, they were hot in the
Yeah.
80s.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So through reading into Red Rooster, I found some 80s ads that exist on YouTube, and they're just so gloriously 80s. And look, maybe just a little chicken salt sprinkling of racism has been
Oh, no.
included as well, which is of the era. So let's have a little quick listen now.
Treat Dad to a Red Rooster family-style Father's Day celebration. With every purchase on Father's Day of 2 or more Red Rooster barbecue chickens or a family feast, we'll give away a free bottle of non-alcoholic Castella Spumante, a full-flavored sparkling Italian-style wine. So on Father's Day, give Dad the succulent taste of Red Rooster and his free bottle of Castella Spumante.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Just for you.
Poor Dad. It's Father's Day.
Spumante.
He gets 1 bottle of alcohol-free Spumante. So I'll just play the second ad.
Ship some rum to Paris would really be embarrassed. If all the world could have a chip like ours. We've got a red rooster. Yes, we've got a red rooster. You'll know with just one look, we've got the world's best chook.
Australia, your chicken is ready.
We've got a red
Rooster.
Very catchy. Okay, so that, as we've spoken about before on the pod, a good jingle from the 80s is a good, a winning formula for any advertisement, and also an earworm in that one.
Wow, yeah. That's really brought something back
Now you
for
remember
me.
this nostalgia. I don't actually remember that ad. I do, because I'll just explain the visuals to the listeners who can't see the ad. In this particular ad, I think they tried a little bit more of a diverse depiction of what being Australian meant, and they included this French chef wearing one of those white chef hats, and it sort of sinks. And then they also have an Asian family, but just to note, there's a little girl eating her chicken wing using chopsticks. It's just so stereotyping and terrible.
Oh,
so I read
terrible.
the comments on this particular video, and there was three people have sought this video out. One says, "I've never seen a Red Rooster with that many people in it in my life." More on that
brutal.
later. And the second was, "Why the Asians got to eat with chopsticks?"
That's so
cringe.
Oh, God.
But, it was just, the 80s were just a little bit racist. Racist ad aside, this was actually a great time for Red Rooster. So they had ads on TV, they went national, they started a franchise model, they bought out the competition, and they served delicious, healthy-ish roast chooks to Aussie battlers. So I think they were doing pretty well in the 80s and 90s. The corporate Red Rooster overlords of Coles and Myer would have been happy. But there's always a but. But then they got bought out by Craveable Brands in 2002. So Craveable Brands are sort of a big corp in the fast food world. They own a lot of fast food franchises. And I think as far as the brand goes, you can kind of line this up with the beginning of some shakier ground for the franchise, and definitely some less resolved identity choices. So that is pre-2021 rebrand, which in my opinion restored some of their former glory, but they're still owned by Craveable Brands, I will say that. But there was sort of a few decisions and also maybe a few financial pressures on them. One thing that they did do was in 2006 is they removed the rooster from the logo completely. So just went zero rooster, and they just had the original typography, and then they added "it's got to be red" in this kind of like yucky handwriting style font, which was popular. And you can imagine in 2006 what that looked like.
Yeah.
So the Red Rooster font, smartly, has actually never been altered.
I just noticed that, when I looked up the logo earlier, every iteration of the logo has the same typography.
It's quite nice. It's like that.
It is nice, yeah. It's a nice
heavy
through line.
Cooper black styling, of a serif font, and it, they pulled the two O's together, which I think is, a little tweak that's nice as well, and it's ownable for them. So in 2014, they reintroduced a chook, and they gave it like a little love heart as a body.
Yeah, I clocked that one too.
No,
I don't
it's
like
very,
it.
I guess you could say if you just searched Rooster icon on a stock site, that's just very like flat icon. There's no styling to the illustration. It's just all very flat, almost stock, illustration.
It's like I can imagine that it like, when they launched that heart logo that you would just be like, oh, it's a chook, but it's got a heart in it. Like it's so clever, but I don't know, it just falls a bit flat, doesn't it?
I don't think it's like reached the heights of engineering a chicken face into two R's. It's just, of course, you can easily tweak the body to be a heart. And I think it's the styling as well. There was no ownable style of that logo. And funnily enough, I actually didn't remember that logo ever existed. And a few people I spoke to and showed that logo, just a bit of my, pre-research on the ground, aka Adam,
research.
and my sister didn't remember it either. So it was very unmemorable.
Unsurprisingly, I also
don't know anything about Red Rooster. Kylie, too good for Red Rooster Hannaford?
It's not that I'm too good for it. I'm a dirty bird.
Definitely are. Oh, okay. Anyway, it was unmemorable. People remember the 70s logo more than they do a rebrand, which I feel like is unfortunately a very clear signal that was a failure. So this will take me to some of the public perceptions of Red Rooster at the time. Even some of these exist today, I will say. So on Reddit, we've come to the Reddit segment.
My favourite segment.
So there are these threads about Red Rooster just being a money laundering front because they are always empty. So you not remembering them doesn't do anything for this image either. I found this little nugget. I have it on good authority that Red Rooster is in fact a shared hallucination. If you ever see a Red Rooster, know that it isn't real. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. But they're such on-brand comments from Reddit, aren't they?
I love Reddit. So funny.
So, unfortunately, it wasn't just public perception that was being rocked at this point. The numbers weren't telling a very pretty story either. So, in 2018, the Sydney Morning Herald broke this quotation mark cover story that Red Rooster was, in fact, on the brink of bankruptcy.
When was this? 2018?
2018, yeah. So, 2018, they could have been going rapidly downhill. And like we mentioned, there's also a lot of new competition in the market. They've got this unmemorable brand and something had to change. And this is where I come into the rejuvenation of Red Rooster, which was when they brought in a new director of marketing, Ashley Hughes. So this was also 2018. And Ashley Hughes had a little bit of experience slinging chicken in the form of he was previously the marketing manager of none other than KFC.
Ah, okay.
KFC? You have heard of KFC, right?
Yes, I have heard of KFC. Yes. In fact, a friend of mine art directs their campaigns.
Ah, so similarly to Ashley Hughes, he knows how to make that chicken shine.
Yeah, he literally knows how to make that chicken shine. Yeah.
What is it? Just castor oil?
To be honest, I don't know his tricks of the trade, but yes, I think he makes sure the composition's right. He gets flown all over the world.
Really?
Yeah,
to art direct chicken.
chicken.
And does he love chicken? Like, is it like passion?
No.
Was he over chicken? He probably doesn't want to smell any more chicken.
To be honest, I feel like he's very neutral about the chicken.
It's just a job that gets him frequent flyer points.
Yeah. He's never like he loves styling the chicken, but when I've been out to dinner with him, I don't recall him ever being pro or against chicken.
He's like, okay, we've got our pork, we've got some steak. What's the poultry? What are we doing for poultry? Ashley came aboard the marketing team and he set out to breathe some youth and personality back into the brand, and he teamed up with a Sydney-based creative agency called Creative Method, and they do a lot of work in the food and beverage industry, and they were set out to do this rebrand. So leaning into my research phase, I actually reached out to the creative director of Creative Method called Tony Ibbotson.
Miranda.
I know. I just wanted to email him and see if he had any thoughts on the matter, and he delivered some gold standard nuggets. So I basically just asked, how did the marketing team react when they saw the Red Rooster logo, the RR, with a chicken engineered into the negative space? And he said, there are more chicken logos on this planet than grains of sand, so finding something unique is next to impossible. So we began to play around with the letter forms and looking at how we could work the bird in somewhere. And a few thousand iterations later, and Mary magically became pregnant and gave birth to a finalist in the Logo Jesus Awards 2023.
Amen.
He also said that the CEO said that Red Rooster had 2 years to turn the brand around, otherwise it would die. No pressure. Not everyone gets the opportunity to kill an Aussie icon. But they definitely didn't kill it, because as all brand makes, this is a story of redemption.
Amazing.
And yes, now the new brand, obviously the logo is just the start, and they had new brand assets which involved these really cool illustrations where they kind of chopped off the heads of people, which sounds creepy, but they put on a rooster head instead. And they're very sort of, they're youthy, they're fun, a bit, line artwork, but in a very like modern youth way. On top of this, outside of the brand, they reinvented the menu, and that involved adding fried chicken. So before, I didn't know this, but Red Rooster had only done roast chicken. So, adding fried chicken apparently was a bit of a game changer, because you're not hitting that drive-thru to get health, are you?
No, you're not. Definitely not. I love that. I love fried chicken.
Yeah, sure you do. Just sledging you so hard about not knowing Red Rooster. Anyway, they also rolled out a campaign to go along the relaunch of the brand, and I'd say that this campaign was sort of like shot in Vice magazine styling. Like they had this geriatric guy in chicken DTs, like with chicken drumsticks all over them, and like then some like cool girl in a match. It was very Vice magazine and cool and very
youth culture.
Different. Very youth culture, very different from Red Rooster and like chefs wearing chef hats and stuff. So of the era. And now for your favourite thing, they started collabing.
Well, I love a collab.
Well, do you want a chicken drumstick candle that smells like a Red Rooster?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's now available to you. They did really cool merch.
When you say chicken drumstick, is it in the shape of a chicken drumstick?
Yeah, it looks like a piece of fried chicken, and it's a candle that smells like Red Rooster.
So it's not just a scented candle that smells like chicken.
No, it's in the shape of a drumstick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Definitely piqued my interest. I was keen.
Yeah.
But,
so tacky, but I love it.
Yes, so tacky. Apparently I saw you could get twisties as well, twisty candles.
I love a
if you
twisty.
just want your house to smell like cheese.
I told you I'm not too good for Red Rooster.
Yeah.
Twisties are in my top 3 chip choice.
Are they?
Mm.
I never go the cheesy things. I just like salted.
Oh
just
my
plain
gosh!
salt.
I just looked up that candle.
See that?
It's
rather
so
than
gross. I'm not sure about that.
For me, it's not the look. It's like having a house that smells like chicken, unless it smelled like a really nice like roast. You cooked a roast. That could be kind of nice. But yeah, it's fun. It's clever. I feel like it's like a novelty gift. You could give it Secret Santa or something like that.
Absolutely. No, it's very, very clever.
So that is it. Red Rooster, Red Rooster are back. I think they're better than before. They've got fried chicken. They've got a timeless, unique logo. They have chicken drumstick candles and amazing merch. And
Australia, your chicken is ready.
Now I'm going to share I know I've teased it, but I'm going to share my personal make.
Your hook?
My hook. I know you're dying to know, Kylie, but I have gone and outdone myself in the investigative journalism, and I've got a scoop, an expose.
Oh, from who? About what?
From the Rooster. No. It's just Kylie pretending to be a rooster in an interview. No, with Tony Ibbotson from Creative Method, when I reached out to him on email to get his thoughts, I just thought he seemed like a very funny guy. And he kindly offered to do an interview with us to follow up on what it was like working on that project.
Our first interview.
I know, we're expanding, we're trying new things. So that will come out next week. We've got it lined up, and that will come out next week if you didn't feel like you got enough information about Red Rooster and you need more. But also I assume we'll just touch on what it's like going through the process of a rebrand for a big, beloved icon.
Amazing. That'll be so fun.
Exciting, hey?
Okay, I am doing the break today. So my clue is that you, Miranda, as a happily married woman of 9 years.
Where's this going? I'm nervous.
You will not have engaged with this app unless you're doing the dirty.
Okay. Can confirm I have not used Tinder, Kylie Hannaford.
Very good guess. A second clue, it has earned the moniker of the feminist Tinder.
Oh, is it Bumble?
Yes. Very good. I am going to be talking to you about specifically Bumble's anti-celibacy advertising campaign that they launched in April last year, April 2024.
I did catch this one a little bit.
So, yeah, this caught my eye at the time, and we were kind of brainstorming this podcast, and I remember thinking that would be a good one to profile. And it has been. It's enraged me over the last 2 weeks.
You're just so cross with Bumble.
I am. Okay, so for those that don't know, what is Bumble? Or I should say, for those who are lucky enough not to know, Bumble is a dating app. So, it's got all the standard features of like that swiping left and right. However, they have claimed from their beginning that they are the feminist dating app. Quote, an empowering dating service for women, one where women message matches first and women are in control.
So that was the big change, wasn't it? It was just that women would only be engaged with the person if they reached out first. Is that the main difference from Tinder?
Yes, exactly. So in heterosexual matches, women are required to make the first move, and then you've got 24 hours to make the first move or the connection expires. So men can't text women first on Bumble.
Okay.
So their tagline on their website is make the first move, and on their website they've got a lot of messaging that's very women first that says, here, kindness is sexy, you being you is perfect, and women come first always.
Okay.
So allegedly, I'm going into this like so biased and skeptical now that I've done all this research.
I feel like you're a bit of a Bumble hater.
I am now. No, I shouldn't be so hard on them. Allegedly, there are other aspects and features that do make it a women first dating app, but I think the essence of it was that, that women have to text first. So it's also founded by a woman. So her name's Whitney Wolfe Herd, and she had previously worked at Tinder. She left and she launched Bumble in December 2014 with some backers. 3 years later, I'm going to just go into some numbers here. So 3 years later, in November 2017, they were valued at $1 billion. In February 2021, they raised $2.2 billion for their IPO, their initial public offering. And at that point, the company was valued at $7 billion. And that IPO made Whitney Wolfe Herd a billionaire, billionaire. And by the time they were listed on the NASDAQ, Bumble were valued at more than $13 billion.
That's never a good news story for me.
No.
No one should be a billionaire from a silly little app.
Yes. I kind of zone out myself at rattling off those numbers, but I think they're important just to paint a picture of who they are in the market, and that they're not just some little Whitneys just having a crack at in the big city, it's
serious business, serious dollars.
Shareholders, stock exchange. It's big business. They're not out for improving women's lives.
They're just another evil corp with some fluffy messaging.
Yeah. Having said that, they have done some really cool, interesting campaigns over the years. So last year they had Barry Keoghan, who was having a real moment from Saltburn. So
Oh, yeah.
he was in some very thirst trappy photos for their Valentine's Day socials.
I like that they chose him instead of Jacob Elordi.
Yeah,
Because he's more gettable.
yeah. And he's a bit more edgy, I think.
Yeah, he is.
And then this year they hosted a party with Amelia de Moldenberg, who, here's a theme, chicken shop date. You know Amelia de Moldenberg?
Oh, yeah, I was like, I don't know who you're talking about, but I do know Chicken Shop Date.
Yeah. So they also last year did a 24-hour takeover on the Little White Chapel in Vegas, which apparently is like one of those very famous places where you go and get married in Vegas.
And drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they called it the Little Yellow Chapel, and it was all, decked out yellow, and they had a whole bunch of couples that had met on Bumble get married there, which I thought was like quite a cool idea. So, I think they've generally got their finger on the pulse. But despite all of this, by late 2023, their stocks were plummeting. So in the last quarter of 2023, they reported a net loss of 32 million.
Really?
They had layoffs of 30% of staff, and Whitney stepped down as CEO and a new CEO came on board.
So it's funny to me, why would that app not just go, flat line, steady from now and forevermore? Everyone's still dating, everyone's still using it. Why would its stocks go down?
Well, all dating apps are struggling right now.
Really? People are over them?
People are over them. Humans can't have nice things. It's turned into a toxic hookup culture, essentially.
Okay.
Of course there are obviously people on there looking for love, but it's not fun anymore. And a lot of the Gen Zs have become disenfranchised with using them. They've grown up. They don't know anything else. You know what I mean?
True.
So they're not novel. I think when they came out, it was like, ooh, how fun, but for Gen Z, they've always been there. So it's like not novelty anymore. It's just like a chore. I think specifically in relation to Bumble, I think, as I kind of mentioned before, I think people are starting to wise up to the fact that this, alleged feminist dating app doesn't actually improve the lives of its users in any meaningful way. In the last 5 years, I'd say, that girl boss culture has really had a fall from grace. And
it has, hasn't it? Because it's sort of patronizing. We've come to be like, we don't need to be called girl boss. It's just boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we needed to be called girl boss to get to boss. It was like the little stepping stone, but
girl boss had its moment and it was important, but I think it is done.
Yes.
And so Bumble really is this kind of relic of that girl bossification of everything.
Yeah.
The yes queen. So with a modern day lens, you can kind of see that Whitney just used white feminism and girl boss marketing to build this brand and make promises that really are just marketing fodder, really.
It is, because it's not hugely different from Tinder. I actually remember when it came out, it really positioned Tinder as a hookup tool and Bumble became the dating tool, where if I spoke to friends who were using the apps, they would say, okay, like if I'm looking for a relationship, Tinder is 100% not on the cards. I wouldn't even bother, but I might use Bumble.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of worked into the psyche of people who were dating. At least they were able to have a bit of a choice to maybe filter some out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, at the time it definitely made its mark and it was relevant. But now there's like lots more apps now. There's Hinge now. But and I think as well, like they were starting to get some backlash about like, women have to message first. And then it's like, well, is that good? Actually, you're just putting more mental load onto me. Like, once again, women have to make things happen.
We have to do the life admin of sending the first message. Just typical.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm actually not taking down Bumble as a whole, just this campaign.
Yep.
So in April 2024, they wiped their Instagram account and they start teasing a new direction for the brand. I would say that the teaser campaign is 1,000 times more interesting and on point than what the actual campaign and rebrand did. So the teaser campaign was called Dating's Wake Up Call. I won't play you the ad because it doesn't have any words, so that's useless for a podcast, but I will describe it. It has a series of these, those like dramatic paintings of Victorian era women, or even before, historical women lounging about looking like bored and exhausted.
Yes.
You know those? Yeah.
Yeah.
With cute copy over the top of them, like, really modern copy.
Like collage?
Yeah, no, it wasn't collage.
Okay.
It flicked through multiple of them.
Okay, yeah.
And over the top, it says, "We get it. Dating is exhausting. It's exhausting. It's time for a change." And then it said, "Dating's wake up call, launching 30th of April." And this style of imagery is very popular on social media. I mean, it still is. It's got that very strong youth culture visual device. It felt very of the moment, and that they were really dialed in, because what they're really going after is the Gen Zs, right?
I think it sounds fun, and like acknowledging people are tired is kind of
and
novelty.
and it's like, we're changing so you don't have to. And they also had a bunch of influencers, brand ambassadors wearing T-shirts that said like exhausted on it, and kind of like lounging and looking exhausted. So I think there were high hopes about what these changes might be. Then they actually started rolling out the product changes before the campaign went live for some reason, but they removed their point of difference. So they removed the fact that women have to make the first move.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you can opt in.
This just sounds confusing though.
Exactly. I'm not going to kind of make a comment, neither here nor there, about
No
that.
comment.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So 30th of April, 2024, they launched. Now, quickly, just on the visual rebrand, because they had a visual rebrand with this, or refresh, I should say. It's really nice. It's lovely. It's just a refresh, updated logo, fresher colors, and expanded color palette.
I'm just going to look.
And like, honestly, with the logo, I would think that only a designer would really notice the difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nice. I think that I like that they went uppercase B, and I like that they took out the hexagon. Don't need it.
Yeah. Nice, tidy little refresh there.
Mm-hmm.
The campaign, diabolical.
Oh,
so
this is a break.
So first off, there was a commercial that I do remember seeing, and I have tried to find again, but it has been scrubbed off the internet, that showed a woman.
That's $1 billion for you, isn't it?
It showed a woman attempting to swear off dating and become a nun, only to abandon her convent after drooling over a sexy shirtless gardener and receiving an illicit phone loaded with the Bumble app. And it said, "We've changed so you don't have to." At the same time as that, they launched a global billboard campaign, which rolled out with messaging that said, one said, "You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer." And the second one said, "Thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun." So I think we can all agree, we can see what they were trying to do, but they failed. They're trying to use humor and tap into that familiar sentiment that, anyone with a single girlfriend who's been frustrated by dating at some point has said to a friend, "I'm done with men, I'm becoming a nun, blah, blah, blah," right?
Yeah, they probably actually heard someone say that and were like, "Ooh, this is a cool idea. I have thoughts already. It's bubbling away."
We get that that's the light touch moment that they're riffing on. So we get it. We do get it. But they've completely forgotten the darker side of women making these choices and paying out celibacy. Celibacy has become a valid choice for lots of women because of a myriad of reasons, like this toxic hookup culture that's, amassed because of all the dating apps and because of their, they've got terrible background checks and validation and all of that kind of thing. So toxic hookup culture is one thing. There's date rape, trauma, online harassment, and especially in America as a response to Roe v. Wade being overturned. So in April 2023, so about a year before this launched, The Guardian reported in a story called "The Rise of Voluntary Celibacy. Most of the sex I've had, I wish I hadn't bothered." They say, "On TikTok, voluntary or intentional celibacy has become a trend. The celibacy hashtag has had more than 195 million views, with those who practice it claiming it has improved their focus, mental health, and energy. In January, it was reported that there was a 90% increase in Google searches for celibacy that month. So I thought I would just dive into this celibacy thing a little bit further. In that Guardian article, they referenced this research centre. So this Pew Research Centre had done this research into online dating apps. And it reports that younger women who have used dating sites or apps stand out for experiencing unwanted behaviours on these platforms. A majority of women under 50, which I really appreciate that they said that we're still categorised as younger women.
Nice.
I was like, tick, Pew Research Centre.
Yeah, we like you.
A majority of women under 50 who have used dating sites or apps, 56% say they have been sent a sexually explicit message or image that they didn't ask for. About 4 in 10 have had someone continue to contact them after they said they weren't interested. 37 have been called an offensive name. And the one that really shocked me was like roughly 1 in 10 of this group, so 11%, have received threats of physical harm. So 1 in 10 young women who are Bumble's target market, they're on the apps, 1 in 10 of them have said they've received threats of physical harm from men on dating apps, and Bumble launches a campaign telling them not to be frigid.
Yeah, I was just thinking, so with all this information that they obviously would be very privy to, and saying, changes are coming because they have, it's their choice, they positioned themselves as the one that's more protective of women. They had an opportunity to create a campaign that spoke to that, what we're going to do to make you feel safer and to stamp out this toxic culture, and that's going to be the change. But instead, like you said, the change for them was like really minimizing those aspects of, which is why people were leaving anyway, and positioning it as the woman's responsibility to be getting out there, like I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's where it's really, because if I'm honest, my immediate reaction to the nun ad is, can't we have a little chuckle? Can't we have a little laugh? Seems to be empowered in that ad. She's the one who's like looking at a thirst trap, and it's just a little joke. And like you said, the anecdote is, I'm going to become a nun because men suck, whatever. So like, I'm like, okay, can't we just take that as what it is? Do we have to like read into it? But I do think it's the Billboard campaign using the term celibacy, like leaning into it a little bit with these like really strong, bold messages, that is where the campaign becomes icky.
Yes, exactly. To me, it makes it so transparent that Bumble see women as a product, and we need more women on the apps to sell off to these men.
I mean, that's just awful. I've lost my words.
Then you have a community of people who are going along the celibacy thing. You have a community of people who are asexual, or ace, as I have learnt. So I'm just going to have a side tangent. Like the Gen Zs love a label.
They do love a label.
So
I wonder what my label would be. Just like
I actually did. I was like, I've been all sorts of things.
Oh, have you?
There's a label for everything. So I listened to a podcast called Sounds Fake But Okay. In the intro, they say, a podcast where an arrow ace girl and a bi demisexual girl. How
Stop
stunted
it.
am I there?
Because it's too much to say.
Arrow ace girl and a bi demisexual girl talk about all things to do with love, relationships, sexuality, and pretty much anything else we don't understand. So before you ask Miranda, I'll let you know.
It's a long, like if you get a degree, you have like your little, it's a very long title, a pansexual demigirl.
So, I mean, you and I worry about our intro.
That's true.
Maybe we should just add all our titles into it. So an arrow ace is an abbreviation for aromantic asexual, which is a term people who experience little or no romantic or sexual attraction. And bi-demisexual is a term used to describe someone who is both bisexual and demisexual. This means they are attracted to people of any gender, but only after forming a close emotional connection with them.
like that's quite standard. I mean, I guess it's not if we were thinking about the apps, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, there you go. Maybe the app culture has created the need to define these
Exactly who
categories.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how, yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just being.
Yeah. This made me feel very old, but we all have to
Yes.
keep learning, don't we? So anyway, the ACE community, they are also perfectly valid in their choices about their bodies as well. So ultimately, it really abandons women on every level. And I think, listen to all these podcasts about it. And I think one of the main complaints about it is that they're trying to use this humor, right? So as you said, yeah, they're trying to use this like trope of like, I'm becoming a nun and coming in on the level of a friend. But if you are a big global company like Bumble, like that day is done of you coming in and talking to us like a friend, like it's not Cosmo. We're not your friends. We've all wised up to the fact you're a billion-dollar business, and we know it's in your best financial interest that women stay in this endless cycle of swiping.
Commoditizing like what can
Our
be
sexuality.
Yeah, sexuality, and what can be like such a personal experience with highs and lows, emotional, just to make billions of money, make that big cash and get on a super yacht. Like it is a little bit awful.
It can be a really demoralizing experience. Like,
to monetize
women are
people's
going
hope.
off the apps because they hate it and because it's like really upset. It can be really upsetting, unsafe experience for women, and they're completely ignoring that.
It does definitely like push home that point that you made, that she or whoever the team was used this women angle as a marketing gimmick, not because if they really cared, with all this information's out there and all this insight that's coming in, that people, the reasons that they're not connecting with the apps anymore, they would look for more authentic ways to improve the experience for women. And in fact, they took away the one thing that was meant to improve the experience, which was the women reaching out first, and then made a terrible, thoughtless campaign and didn't seek to change any of the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Another point is like using words like thou shalt not. It's like you're literally giving orders. It's like the God Squad coming in and telling women what to do with their bodies.
I didn't know what didn't sit right with me for that one, but that's what it is. It's like this order to the women, dating women of the world, of how you should behave,
Yeah, yeah. So as you can imagine, backlash was harsh, swift, and plentiful. Like, there is so much content out there slamming this campaign. I'm pretty sure TikTok is 27% videos of people reacting to this campaign. I will post this TikTok for you to watch.
This is for the advertising and marketing director over at Bumble, the dating app. You really have billboards all over the city talking about a vow of celibacy is not the answer. So what is the answer? Giving it up to raggedy, undeserving men? Y'all are just as raggedy as the men you're trying to shove down these women's throats. You got men on here talking about, ladies, some of y'all are going to have to settle. No. For the men out there who refuse to get their lives together to make themselves worthy catches for these women, but still want you to settle for them, no. To Bumble, trying to guilt trip and manipulate women into settle for these raggedy men, no. For y'all to be an app that's all about women making the first move, and now you're telling the women what move to make? Who came up with this idea? Who greenlit this campaign? I bet it was a man.
I love the number of eye rolls in that video. and just y'all is just as raggedy as the man. That's the quote of that TikTok rage.
Totally. I know that's what really stood out to me. She really encapsulates it. A couple of other comments that I clocked were, Bumble was supposed to be for women, but that ad campaign was very anti-woman. How about a billboard asking men to act like they've got sense, or not talk about having sex in the first 2 sentences after you make contact, or not to send unsolicited D-pics? Maybe women will stop fleeing the apps then.
I think also that was the one thing that Bumble, didn't probably tap into, and why this backfired so much was like there was existing anger. So they were probably, I would say, surprised with the level of anger that came back. But it was like people were ready to share that it wasn't working and it wasn't right and it's not fair. And then like they did this ad that wasn't hitting the right notes, and basically unleashed that feedback times a million.
That's what I mean, like their teaser campaign. I feel like hit the right. No, it was like, we hear you. It's exhausting. We are going to change so you don't have to. Dating's wake-up call. And then it's like, hey, ladies, go and have sex.
Yeah.
What? So it's like they built this thing up that was like going to really speak to the people and like really answer and listen to what women are wanting from an online dating experience. And then they were like, oh, just go and have more sex, guys.
Don't be a nun.
Don't be a nun. Don't be a loser.
Yeah.
Another one said, you dress those women as nuns to insinuate that celibate people are reclusive and limited. We aren't. We're happy over here.
Nice.
Julia Fox. Do you know Julia Fox?
Yes.
Yeah. She commented on a TikTok saying 2.5 years of celibacy and I've never been better, TBH.
So really, this ad did a lot for like the celibacy movement.
It really did.
Got a platform to promote this like new way of living.
Yeah. Other celebrities followed Julia, saying Kate Hudson, Khloe Kardashian, and Tiffany Haddish followed suit and admitted to having lengthy dry spells.
Is that in a reaction to this ad as well?
Yep. So you get the point.
Yeah.
So in response, Bumble issued this apology on Instagram on the 14th of May, so 2 weeks later after pulled
2 weeks?
My point exactly. Anyway, I'll get there. To our beloved Bumble community, we made a mistake. Our ads referencing celibacy were an attempt to lean into a community frustrated by modern dating, and instead of bringing joy and humour, we unintentionally did the opposite. Some of the perspectives we heard were from those who shared that celibacy is the only answer when reproductive rights are continuously restricted, from others for whom celibacy is a choice, one that we respect, and from the asexual community for whom celibacy can have a particular meaning and importance which should not be diminished. We are also aware that for many, celibacy may be brought on by harm or trauma. For years, Bumble has passionately stood up for women in marginalised communities and their right to fully exercise personal choice. We didn't live up to these values for this campaign and we apologise for the harm it caused. They go on to say they'll make a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, among other organisations, blah, blah, blah. And they offered those partners billboard space. So they took their billboards down and their partners could display an ad of their choice for the duration of their time. Yeah.
Out of all of it, I think that's the nicest like aspect is they were like, okay, we'll take away this bad message and give the voice to the people who we've offended. That's nice.
Agree. So reactions to the apology are mixed. I, like you, was like, okay, like that's a good apology. And I still maintain like offering the billboard space is a good solution.
Without you explaining to me why, I can't see the issue other than maybe the 2 weeks with this apology.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is the 2 weeks. Yeah. I think it was
too long.
The feedback, there is not one good bit of feedback on this campaign.
Really?
Like, no.
Oh, I thought you meant on this apology.
Oh, no, on this campaign. Like, they did not need to take 2 weeks to issue that apology.
The news cycle is just so fast. So 2 weeks later is like, that's like, if you go news cycle maths, that's like basically 3 years later.
Yeah. I also do think that they're way too vague about who they're donating to. They mention one person. If they'd done this within 2 days or 3 days, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Fine that you're being a bit vague on some stuff because maybe you haven't fully fleshed this out, but you've just recognised I need to get this out. But they've had 2 weeks. So then they go, we'll be making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, among other organisations. And it's like, well, who and how much? And can we see a receipt?
Bumble for better dating experiences charity.
Yeah, Whitney Wolf's Herd's Children's
International Swiss School charity.
Exactly. It also does read as though it's been through many a committee. So the podcast with the Gen Zs, the ACE Gen Zs, Sounds Fake But Okay, talked about this sentence in particular, which says, quote, and from the asexual community for whom celibacy can have a particular meaning and importance. So they say in response to this, that is a lot of words to say nothing. It sounds nice, but in reality, you're really not saying anything. I challenge the people who wrote this and the people who okayed this to explain what that particular meaning and importance is, because I don't think they know.
It's just like a very, oh, well, if you feel sad.
Yeah. It's like they're saying that, like, they haven't run that. They haven't spoken to an asexual person and said, why do you find this offensive, and addressed that specifically.
No.
They've just said this like really, and like that would not be hard to do, right? If you've got 2 weeks, hunt down an asexual person and ask, why is this offensive?
Sorry.
What?
Just a funny sentence. If you've got 2 weeks, hunt down an asexual person.
Okay, maybe bad wording. Track down.
Just a sentence you never thought you were going to say is all I'm saying.
Oh dear. A couple of comments on the Bumble. So they posted this on Instagram, this apology on Instagram. Just a couple of the comments that I clocked on this one. I mean, obviously there's loads. Quote, you didn't lean into a community, you leaned into the feelings of men. You had no regard for women. You made it a woman's problem to fix the lack of sex men are having. Or more simply put, these comments, quote, we choose the bear, bye.
I'm going to bring it back to branding, and just, one thing you mentioned earlier was they said that it didn't align with their values, and just like how important it is having that set of values so that you can align everything you're doing, decisions of your business, not only like your, visual expression or ads or whatever, need to align and not go off track, because it's obviously what they've done is they've just gone off track with this ad.
Yeah, because it's like if your value is to center women, you could easily just go back and go, does this center women?
Well, then now they come across insincere, which is really bad. Worse than not making the claim is making the claim and then not being true to it. So a lot of brand loyalty would have been lost through this really, really poorly targeted campaign.
Yeah. So I think it's a really, an absolute standout example of how easily a brand can stray from its values and that brand promise, even with the best of intentions. Anyway, so stick to your values, people.
In life, in brand. Shut up, Miranda.
Let's wrap it there. See you, Miranda.
Yeah. Bye.
And so ends another expedition into the lands of brands and design. We hope you loved it as much as we loved creating it. If you did, we would love you to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode, and to help other people find us.
If you want to check out our visual references, you can follow us on Instagram at @BrandOdysseyPod or @3BlocksLeft. Until next time, stay on the Odyssey, brave creatives. Bye.
Bye.